question is, would you recommend surveying atrial cardiomyopathy in all atrial fibrillation patients? Which non-invasive method is preferred? 3D echocardiography, cardiac MRI, or systemic biomarkers?
Well, atrial cardiomyopathy is an important part of the pathophysiology of atrial fibrillation patients, and it may have therapeutic implications. So I would recommend to look for atrial cardiomyopathy in all atrial fibrillation patients. As far as the method of diagnosis and the specific indices to look at, I would suggest echocardiography as a widely available and very informative approach, looking at atrial dimensions as well as atrial mechanical function and emptying function. MRI, of course, is very interesting and useful, but is not widely available and is very expensive. Finally, some biomarkers may be of particular value, such as N-terminal brain natriuretic peptide, NT-BNP, which can give a good idea of cardiac hemodynamic function and left atrial strain and function. So I would suggest those three approaches to looking at atrial cardiomyopathy, and certainly they're of value potentially in all patients.
Another question is atrial cardiomyopathy a curable disease? What can we do to stop remodeling?
So atrial cardiomyopathy is, of course, a broad entity, and some forms may be more curable than others. For example, amyloidosis causes a prominent atrial cardiomyopathy, and certain forms of amyloidosis may be curable by treating the underlying cause. In addition to that, there are some genetic forms of atrial cardiomyopathy which may someday be curable. For example, certain mutations in myosin light chain genes in atrial natriuretic peptide may ultimately be curable by gene engineering with CRISPR-Cas9 or other eventual forms of the genetic cures. Otherwise, there are many forms of atrial cardiomyopathy that may be amenable to treatment and prevention of progression. For example, heart valve disease is a cause of atrial cardiomyopathy which can be curable if detected and surgically intervened early enough. Hypertension and congestive heart failure are both causes of atrial cardiomyopathy which can be managed and cured. There are also predisposing conditions that can lead to atrial cardiomyopathy, like obesity, cigarette smoking, and other alcohol abuse and so on. And these also can be managed. Obstructive sleep apnea is another one. These also can be managed and reversed in order to either prevent the development of atrial cardiomyopathy or to reverse it if it becomes established.